everybody, John12 back here again with another video, and today I bring you another top 5. It's that time of the week again, so let's get out and talk about the awesomeness about music. Now, of course, I've had to really, set this one back for a couple of weeks because there was a whole bunch of things going on. I had to make some room for my Superman top 5, and my Ultron top 5 for Avengers, because Avengers came out, which, of course, if you've not seen my review of the film Avengers Age of Ultron, please go to my channel to check it out if you've not done so already. And on top of that, I've just had to set this one back for a good number of weeks, but nonetheless, it is here. I have a free slot, so I can, finally talk about music and what have you, which, of course, who doesn't like music? Nonetheless, today I give you my top 5 music movies list. Now, of course, like most top 5s surrounding movies and television shows and just stuff like that, I've been wanting to do some more music-oriented videos, which I haven't really done a lot of, but I know there are, particular people who have viewed a lot of my music-related videos in the past, so I just wanted to make more music-oriented videos nonetheless. But of course, I just haven't had the chance to really do that because, I haven't really listened to any music as of late. I think over the course of the last 2 years, I haven't listened to anything good. I think the last thing I ever listened to that's new had to have been Slipknot's new, album, which, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't even listen to the entire album. I just listened to like 2 songs and that was it. I never listened to the entire album in full, which I guess shows how huge of a Slipknot fan I am, but, that's a topic for another video, for another time. Nonetheless, for this specific videos, I'm going to be choosing movies that I particularly think are the best of their specific genre. And of course, for the specific list, I do have a criteria chose for it, which is I will not be choosing any music movies that are dedicated to specific rock stars, which hence the idea of like rock stars who are legitimate rock stars being the leading characters of the movie itself. Also, I won't be choosing any documentaries, mockumentaries, specific shows dedicated to musicians like biopics and stuff like that. Nothing that's based on a legitimate actual musical group or rock star. It's not going to be any of that. It's specifically movies who are music driven, and music plays a humongous part with the movies that I've chosen. That's kind of the specific criteria I've chose for this one. So with all this rambling put aside, let's just get right down into my top 5 music movies list. Now, of course, as always, my top 5s are subjective. It's my personal opinion. So, of course, if there's any movies that are particularly music-oriented movies that I did not put in my list, please, in the comments section below, let me know what is your personal top 5 list of movies, because, I would love to hear what other people like to do. And of course, that just because my criteria is, made in a specific way, doesn't mean I will not be doing other oriented music movie videos, like top 5 music documentaries, top 5 music biopic movies, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, let's just get right down into the list in of itself. Coming up at number 5 on my list has to go down to That Thing You Do, which is a really interesting, fun movie, directed by Tom Hanks, strangely enough. And of course, the movie's, spoilers if you've not seen it, of course, it's set in the 1960s around this one-hit wonder kind of group, ironically enough, named the One-Hit Wonders. And of course, their rise to fame through their hit song, That Thing You Do, hence the title of the movie. And of course, their fall and disbandment as people in and of itself. And I just love the movie itself. It's just awesome to watch each character's story arc unfold and how, terrible it would be to just, you have the guy who just wants to do music all the time, the guy who has no fucking life, the guy who has, who has a thing for, he has an ego that's bigger than his head, another guy who's like just wanting to be famous, you just have all these different type of story arcs and all these other types of different, situations, and it's just, I just love the movie for just giving us something that's not particularly of what the time was. And of course, Tom Hanks, I don't think he gets enough attention as a director, because he does direct from time to time, and I think he's a pretty good one. A lot of people see him as more or less an actor, which is understandable seeing as how he's more of an actor anyways, but I think he directs pretty badass movies, and this one is definitely one of my more favorite Tom Hanks movies that he's not particularly the main star of, if you will. That Thing You Do is just a very interesting, fun, entertaining movie about, the rise and fall of a one-hit wonder group. Nonetheless, moving off of that, going to number 4 on my list has to go to The Squirrel Frog. The Squirrel Frog was directed by Richard Linklater, who is one of my favorite directors. A lot of his movies I just love, like Dazed and Confused and so on and so forth, and he just makes badass, awesome movies. And The Squirrel Frog is hands down one of my favorite music movies. And it's also one of the main movies that really skyrocketed Jack Black's career, because beforehand, prior to the events of this movie, Jack Black wasn't really as big of a star as he is now. He was particularly just a lesser known kind of star, and he kind of was known but not really, the superstar that he eventually became, if you will. And it was this movie that really did it. And I just love how it's such an interesting, fun, entertaining movie about this loser, this deadbeat kind of guy who's, his main dream is to be a super rock star, and, he, takes a job as a substitute teacher for this, preppy school, and then, he then figures out that the kids that he's been teaching are superstar, musicians, and then he forms a band with them and becomes the School of Rock. I fucking love the movie. I think it was just one of those very badass music movies of the time, and it's just one of those things that really obviously skyrocketed Jack Black's career, and it's also one of my favorite Jack Black movies that he's been the main star of. I think it's just one of the, best of his career. Nonetheless, moving off of that, going to number 3 on my list has to go to The Blues Brothers, a really nice classic music movie, of course, directed by John Landis, the king himself. Now, I know Blues Brothers, for a lot of people, would definitely be a little higher on the list, but for me, it just had to go down to number 3. It's definitely right up there, but it's just number 3 for me. But there's a lot about this movie that just makes it a classic. It's the music, it's the jazz, it's the blues, it's the rock, it's the multiple cameos from very iconic musicians, whether it be, Ray Charles or James Brown and what have you, and then you have, Dan Aykroyd and Belushi just killing it as their specific characters, the Elwood brothers, and it's just this round trip to Chicago, just hijinks after hijinks, adventure after adventure, car chase after car chase. This movie, without me trying to just spoil everything about it, is a very entertaining, explosive, awesome, badass music movie. It's a great comedy. It's a great, even a great action movie, if you will. And it's just one of the best of the Belushi and Landis films. And it's just an awesome, solid music movie, because if you strip down the comedy and the SNL kind of esque moments that Aykroyd and Belushi have, and all that other kind of nonsense that happens in the movie, the hijinks and adventures and what have you, it's a very, very solid music film. The soundtrack is amazing. Everyone who's involved with the film did an amazing job producing great music. Whether or not that was the purpose, they did a great job at doing it. And Blues Brothers is just one of those classic music movies. Moving off of that, going to number 2 on my list, is a very inspiring film for me personally, which is High Fidelity. High Fidelity is one of those movies that I remember seeing it, and it just spoke to me. It just felt like a very interesting, involving kind of storyline, which, of course, if you haven't seen it already, spoilers, but it's surrounded around Cusack's character, who's going through this entirely disastrous relationship, and of course ends terribly, not in terms that he rather wants it, and all he does is work at a record shop, and of course creates top 5, he always comes up with a top 5 list, which actually was the inspiration for my top 5. It was actually High Fidelity that inspired, like, John Cusack's character, because I always felt like very similar to his character. His character in the film, I always felt, was kind of like a lot like me in the sense to certain degrees that I don't really want to go into right now, but there's a lot of fucking similarities. And the fact that he always just came up with top fives of his favorite things surrounding music and what have you, and he just created this entire top five of his, broken relationships and what have you, that inspired me to do my top 5 list on YouTube. The John Squirrel 12's top 5 list is inspired by this film and John Cusack's character, which I, really got into and was really, I saw a lot of similarities in. But nonetheless, High Fidelity is just an awesome film in and of itself that's very story-driven, and of course driven by awesome, badass music. The music, the soundtrack is just awesome, very particularly chosen for every particular scene. It's kind of like a Tarantino film where he uses the music to, incorporate what is exactly happening with the specific characters that we're witnessing on screen. It's done the same way with this film. It's just an awesome, badass movie. And I really hope more people check it out because it is a solid flick and it's a solid movie. Music movie. Nonetheless, going to number 1, I'm going to skip the honorable mentions, mostly due to the fact that for more top 5 surrounding music, I will be doing more or less other music movie-oriented top 5s, like I stated, documentaries, biopics, and so on and so forth, so I don't want to spoil it by naming off honorable mentions where more than likely you'll end up seeing these movies on a future top 5 list. But nonetheless, moving off of that, going to my number 1 pick has to go down to Almost Famous. Almost Famous is the definitive music movie. It's just so well done. It's inspired by Cameron Crowe's actual stories that he did during his Rolling Stone days, where kind of similar to what he did with Fast Times, where he basically just went on tour with multiple rock bands at the time and try to get a job at Rolling Stone and whatever. So it's kind of loosely based off his experiences on those specific tours and what have you, and it's about just various characters in their process and evolution through complete obscurity to somewhat notoriety to being almost famous practically. So that's kind of the overall, I guess, plot of the movie without freaking explaining the entire plot, because as much as I would love to talk about how great Almost Famous is, it's something that I really want other people to see. It just has such great music that perfectly blended with the visuals we get to see, and the performances are all awesome. Philip Seymour Hoffman kills it. Kate Hudson kills it. Everyone in this film just kills it. It's just an awesome, solid music movie. Every single time a song comes up, you just want to sing along to it because it gets you, into the film. It makes you want to, be a part of this world that these people are on in this specific tour bus and this specific tour following this, somewhat iconic band, if you will. But nonetheless, this has been my top 5 music movies list. Of course, there's tons of movies dedicated to music alone, so of course there's going to be tons of, specific people out there who may or not like this particular top 5 because a lot of movies that they may or may not like may or might not be in this specific top 5. But of course, as always, it's subjective. It's my personal list, my personal opinion. So in the comment section below, let me know what is your personal top 5 music movies. And of course, as I stated twice, I think already in this video, I will be doing more top 5 music movies. So once again, if there's a specific movie that did not fit my criteria for this top 5 list, I will be doing a future top 5 list surrounding other types of music movies. Nonetheless, comment below, let me know what you personally thought. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. Hope you guys enjoyed. This has been John 12.